Ladies and guys who want to be accountable. Andy here, author of the best Tinder guide on the internet. This is the Kill You're in a Loser show. Let's fucking go. Accountability. Accountability. One of the most mandatory things for self-improvement, and the first thing that I get anyone who works with me to do. It's literally step one that I make all of my coaching clients do. So if you are a coaching client of mine, hello. This is the first video that you're watching. Good job clicking on the video. I'd be kicking your ass if you weren't watching this. So when I talk about an accountability check-in, what exactly am I referring to? Once a week, what I want you guys to do, and this is what I have done every single week for the last 3 or so years, is find somebody. So you'll find an accountability partner, and once a week you guys will do a check-in. That can be in person. That can be on Zoom, over the internet. It doesn't really matter, but you hold each other accountable. Why is this important? What you're really doing is setting a safety net or a guardrail that keeps you on track. If you don't have an accountability partner, what can happen is you'll go, a week where you're just having a bad week. You're not doing the things you said you wanted to do. You're not going to the gym. You're not hitting on girls, whatever it is that your goal is. You're not building your business. You're being a lazy bastard. If you don't have an accountability partner, it's very, very, very easy to have a bad week and then fuck it. Maybe I'll have a second bad week. Fuck it. I can't get back on track. I'll just be lazy and play video games. Now, I've gone 3 weeks in a row without being on track. If you have an accountability partner and do what I'm telling you to do here, find somebody to keep you accountable once a week, the worst week that you will ever have, or the longest amount of time that you'll ever have a bad week is exactly that, 1 week. You'll go 7 days not working on your goals, and then you'll sit down with your accountability partner and they'll say, how did your week go? And you'll say, well, I kind of played video games too much. I watched porn. I ate junk food. I didn't do the things I said I wanted to do. I haven't worked on my goals. And they'll say, shit, man, like what's happening? How do we get you back on track? How do we make next week a success? How do we fix the issues that you ran into this week? And so the longest amount of time that you'll ever go being a lazy bastard and not working on your goals is 7 days. It's a guardrail that keeps you on track. It keeps you on that road. It keeps you on that path to success. And again, you're never going to go off track for more than 7 days. So that's the main reason that I get you guys to have an accountability partner, and the reason that I've done it. My accountability partner has been my girlfriend Imogen for like the last 3 years. Once a week, every Sunday, we go for a walk. We talk through all of the things we did that week, what our successes were, what our failures were, what we could have done better. And then we plan what we're going to do the next week. And then we basically ask each other a bunch of questions to make sure that we're on track with that stuff and to build an awesome life. It also helps, like I said, minimize the amount of laziness that I have. Again, I can only ever be lazy for 7 days. And then Imogen will say, how come you didn't do the things you said you were going to do? Or, vice versa. I'll say the same question to her. You said you wanted to work on these things. You said this was your goal. You haven't done it this week. How do we make sure you do next week? So it's a safety rail. It's a guardrail. Absolutely keeps you on track. So in terms of how often you use your accountability partner, you can do it one of two ways. You could message each other like every day if you want to, or whenever you're running into some trouble, like you can keep each other accountable that way, or you can just meet once a week and do this accountability check-in. Now, no matter what you pick, I would definitely still do the weekly accountability check-in. So that has to be mandatory. And then whether or not you message each other throughout the week, that's up to you. If you want to do it every day, do that, but still pick a day once a week. Make sure it's the same day every week. Put it in both of your calendars. Make it sacred. It has to be sacred that you both attend that you don't put it off or put it on another day or any of that bullshit. And you attend that weekly check-in either on Zoom or in person. Myself, with Imogen, I only do the accountability check-in once a week with her. And then throughout the week, I have other people that I personally use for like daily accountability. So I don't put all the burden on Imogen. I have like a Telegram group of like 8 people that I use for, daily accountability. I have a coach. I have 3 coaches that I use. And then Imogen is the one that I meet with once a week to do that sort of accountability. You can also, if you want to, and I do this with Imogen, you can also text your weekly accountability partner every night and just say like what successes you had that day. So it's not quite accountability. It's more like, building momentum. with the successes you've had. So every night, Imogen and I will send a text saying, today was a success because, and then we would just dot point out like maybe 5 or 10 things that we achieved that day. You know, I went to the gym, I stuck to my calories, I recorded a podcast, you know, I had a coaching call, you know, in her case, I lost some weight, I went to the gym, like whatever it is. You might want to do that with your accountability partner, but you don't have to. Again, the main thing that I'm saying is mandatory is meet once a week, either online or in person, and do this weekly accountability check-in, which we'll go into in a second. In short, I'll summarize by saying, if you want an elite life, it's fucking mandatory that you use other people for accountability. It can be more than one person. It can be one person. I personally am a fan of having as many people as you can in your corner, you know, coaches, counselors, other friends that are working on this shit, the forums. If you want to hit me up for coaching, you can do that. I'll leave a link in the description below. But try and get as many people as you can in your corner. But at the bare minimum, have at least one accountability partner that you check in with once a week. So on top of the once a week check-in, I also recommend you do a check-in every 3 months and maybe every year as well. And so what I would do is I would stick in your calendar to go off every 3 months and every year, you know, 3 monthly check-in. Just write a note, 3 monthly check-in, and then once a year, annual check-in. And what you guys will do is you'll have a meeting. It'll be similar to the weekly check-in, but you'll basically go over everything you've achieved over the last 3 months, or if it's every year, everything you've achieved that year. You want to write down all the progress you've made, all the things you've achieved, all of your successes, because you're trying to give yourself credit for all the stuff that you've done. Most people in self-improvement really fucking struggle to give themselves that pat on the back and say, you know, I'm making progress. I'm doing a good thing. I see so many guys, a couple of girls, I see so many people beating themselves up and saying, oh, I fucked up this. I wasn't good enough today. You know, I didn't achieve the next goal yet. I'm running behind schedule, or I'm achieving stuff, but it's not quite as much as other people. So doing this check-in once every 3 months and once a year lets you like zoom out a little bit, take a step back and see if you are making progress over a longer period, or if you want to do more. Because it can be easy to get stuck in or bogged down in the day-to-day or the week-to-week and say like, oh, fuck, you know, this week wasn't great. But if you zoom out a bit, you'll say, you know what, I'm making progress over time. Like compared to 3 months ago, I'm fucking killing it. So that's why you want to take a step back so that you're not zoomed in too much or too focused on the week-to-week where it's a little harder to see improvements. This also makes self-improvement way, way, way easier, because you are literally giving yourself more fuel, more positive feedback, more momentum. It starts snowballing, and you're doing that more often. Everybody likes praise. Everybody likes feedback. It's incredibly fucking motivating. So these weekly and 3 monthly and annual check-ins will literally make you achieve 10 times the fucking goals than you otherwise would. Like, I'm not even exaggerating. They're like a turbo boost with your success, with your motivation. So in terms of where to find an accountability partner, it needs to be someone who also has goals, right? Someone, even if they're different goals, it has to be someone who's working on something, and someone that will support you working on your goals. So I would recommend starting, you know, if you join my coaching program, there's a bunch of other guys in the group coaching program that I would just set you up with. So you'd have an accountability partner there. You can also go on my forums and just post and say, who wants a weekly accountability partner? Andy told me to get an accountability partner. I watched this video. I realized how fucking mandatory it is. Does anyone want to, you know, be accountability partners? Again, you can do that on Zoom or Skype or whatever. So it doesn't have to be someone in your city or your country. But that's probably the best place to find someone. You can also find any of your friends who have goals. Again, even if it's different goals, as long as they're comfortable, or as long as they want to motivate you with your goals, as in they like your goals and they're willing to push you with your goals and you're willing to push them with their goals. In person, I personally prefer. I like in person, but again, it's not the end of the world if you have to find someone on Zoom. Like most of my coaching clients just use Zoom. Make sure it's on camera. Like texting isn't okay. Audio isn't okay. Don't have a fucking phone call. Like you want to be able to look each other in the eyes, because a big part of accountability is paying attention to each other, telling the truth to each other, not lying to each other, calling each other out on your bullshit. That's way easier to do if you can see each other's fucking eyes, right? If you're just on the phone, you can be doing other bullshit. If you're texting, you're not really paying attention. You want to be able to look your accountability partner in the eyes, and when you say to them, how did your week go? Did you work on the things you said you were going to work on? If they're kind of like, yeah. Like, it's much easier to see that they're full of shit if you can see their eyes. Whereas if they're texting you or you're just on a phone call, you can't quite call them out on their bullshit because you can't quite see if they're full of shit or not. So in terms of what questions to ask, the general template is this. The questions will fall into a couple of different categories. The first kind of questions you want to ask is, did I do what I would say I'd do this week? So if I said I'm going to go to the gym 5 days a week this week, did I do that? And what you'll do is you will ask your accountability partner that question. Like, you'll say, did you do what you said you were going to do? And they'll say either yes or no. And then they will ask you a similar sort of question. Like, did you go to the gym like you said you would? And you can make these questions specific. So you can say, if you're currently working on losing weight, you can say, did you count your calories every day? And your partner will either say yes or no. And if you're working on getting laid, they could say to you, hey, did you message 20 girls on Tinder this week? Did you go outside and talk to 10 girls this week? So you're basically asking each other, did you do what you said you were going to do this week? If the answer is no, then your partner will say, how can you make sure next week is better? Like, what changes do we need to make? So let's say you're working on getting better sleep and you didn't sleep very well this week. You only slept 6 hours every day this week. What would you change? And so you'll both sit there, you'll brainstorm, you'll come up with some answers. Okay, maybe I need to, turn all the lights in my apartment off at 6 p.m. Maybe I need to eat dinner at 5:30 p.m., turn all the lights off at 6 p.m., start winding down, start calming down, not doing anything too stimulating, not staring at my laptop, all of that kind of stuff. I'll prioritize sleep. If, your goal is getting laid and you say you didn't do anything towards, or you didn't do enough towards working towards getting laid, what are you going to change this week? Okay, I'm going to prioritize going outside. I'm going to cancel a couple of, I was going to hang out with friends and just play video games. I'll cancel that. Or maybe I'll grab a friend, I'll text a friend and I'll say, hey, let's go out and talk to girls. So make some changes. If you didn't do what you said you were going to do, or if you didn't make enough progress this week, make some changes. And it's up to both of you to sit there and kind of brainstorm some ideas. That's part of the magic of a weekly accountability check-in, partner, is you don't have to come up with the answers yourself. Like, you have two people brainstorming, trying to make changes. And it's often easier for the other person who's not you, who's removed a little bit from it, to give you suggestions. Like, stuff you wouldn't even think of yourself, it's easier for the other person to give. The next type of question you ask is, what were my successes this week? Like, what did I do well? What did I do that I said I wanted to do? Like, what good shit did I do this week? And give yourself credit for those things. When you list those things, it's very important that the other person says fucking awesome and gives you a pat on the back, gives you some of that validation, tells you that you're doing a good job, tells you that you're making progress. And you need to do that yourself. And then you do it for them and they do it for themselves. So very, very, very important that you guys take the time to acknowledge what you did right or what you did well and build upon that, because it's so much easier to make progress in the self-improvement sphere with any goal if you're building upon success. And again, as I said before, too many guys and too many girls don't give themselves any fucking credit for the things they do, and they will sit there and beat themselves up for anything they do bad. It's really hard to work towards your goals if you're constantly feeling shit. If you're constantly beating yourself up, it doesn't exactly make you want to go out and work harder, does it? However, if you're constantly pointing out your successes and giving yourself and your partner credit for the things you've done well, it's way easier to go harder the next week because you're already fucking feeling good. You're feeling like, I did some good shit this week. How do I do even more next week? Rather than if you're too negative, where you're like, man, I sucked this week. God, I have so much shit to fix. Like, it's harder to come back from that. So keep it positive. Literally go through your successes, brainstorm them. It might take a bit of effort at the start. You might not be very good at pointing out your successes, and your partner might need to prompt you and say, you might sit there and say, I did a couple of things right this week. Your partner might literally need to say, well, did you go to the gym? And you're like, yeah, I guess I forgot. Yeah, I did go to the gym. They're like, well, that's a success. Yeah, I guess I didn't think of that. And then they might prompt you again and say, and did you talk to any girls? And you're like, yeah, I hit on 20 girls this week. And they might be like, well, that's a success. Good job. So you might need to prompt each other. Over time, you'll get better at coming up with your own successes. At this point, this was something I really struggled with. And Imogen struggled with this fucking crazy. At this point, we're both pretty good at acknowledging our successes. So it is something you'll get better at with practice, but it is very fucking important. And the third type of question, or the last type of question, I should say, that you'll ask is, what do I want to do next week? So if you weren't happy with your progress this week, or you think you could have done more, or you did decent but you want to build upon it, you'll say, what am I going to do even better next week? What am I going to change? What am I going to prioritize? What am I going to do that I didn't do this week? You might also, just come up with some goals for next week. You might say, okay, this week, like next week, I might go to the gym 5 times. I think I'll talk to 50 girls. I'll hang out with my friends 3 times. So I'm socializing. Like, come up with a rough plan of what you're going to do next week. And then the idea is at next week's check-in, your partner would say, hey, last week you said you were going to talk to 50 girls. You were going to go to the gym 5 times. Did you do that stuff? So come up with a plan for that week. Again, it can be a rough plan or it can be a hardcore plan. It's up to you. But you're basically giving yourself, you're getting yourself fired up and motivated for the coming week. So a big, the point of the check-in is, 1, to sit there and say, did I do everything I was going to do? If not, what can I change? What can I do better? What did I do well? What could it have used some improvement? And then what am I going to do next week? So you're acknowledging what you've just done this week, and then you're getting fired up for the next week. Most check-ins, depending on how many questions you have, for most people, I'd say most check-ins last probably an hour, probably less than an hour, honestly. It depends on how many questions you have. You can, however, go longer. So Imogen and my check-in usually lasts 3 hours, just because we do it on a Sunday, which is our road trip day. So we'll go on a road trip, we'll either be driving somewhere in the car, we might sit on a train, we might go for a walk, we might go to a national park or to a beach or something like that. We're kind of chilling anyway, and we usually just go for a really long walk for 6 or 7 hours. And so we like to really take our time with the check-in, ask a bunch of questions, and go into crazy detail for each one, overanalyze every single one, just go balls deep. We like to do that. So you can go for as long as you want, but don't feel pressure to go forever. If you want to just do a fucking half-hour check-in, brilliant. If you want to do an hour, do that. If you want to do 5 hours, do that. It's entirely up to you. But the main point is, I'll summarize again. Did I do what I said I was going to do? If not, what do I need to do better? What do I need to change? What do I need to prioritize? What were my successes this week? What did I do well? And what am I going to do next week? The other benefits of a check-in are that it helps you become the person you want to be. So if you have a certain personality trait that you want to develop, or something you want to be more masculine, you want to be more stoic, you want to be more calm, what you can do is ask yourself, or get your partner, I should say, to ask you the questions that are very specific to that one personality trait that you're trying to develop, or that person that you're trying to become, or the habit that you're trying to build. So for instance, they could ask you, did you practice being more masculine this week? What were your successes in terms of being more masculine? How did you achieve that? What exact examples do you have? Was there a time where in the past you would have been, not as masculine, but this week you chose to be more masculine? Go through those successes. So asking these kind of specific questions can help shape you into the kind of person that you want to become slowly over time. Because personality traits are absolutely fucking they're habits. They're habits you can build. Too many guys and too many girls, too many people will say, I'm not a confident person, or I'm not a funny person, or I'm not good at art, or I'm not stoic, or I'm not masculine, or I'm not calm enough, or I'm too anxious, as if it's set in stone. Fuck no. This stuff is habit. It's shapeable, it's adjustable. And the way you do it is by working on it and building it little by little every single week. So having these kind of specific questions once a week are a nice reminder of what you're trying to work on. And sometimes you'll come to the check-in and your partner will say, did you work on being more stoic this week? Can you give some examples of when you built stoicism this week? And you might go, shit, I didn't do anything. Fuck, I did nothing. Okay, I'm going to work on it this week. It's a nice reminder of what you're working towards. And other times you would have done a bunch of you would have built stoicism or practiced building that habit, but you would have just forgotten to even give yourself credit. You don't even remember that you did it. And you come to the check-in and your partner goes, did you do that? And you're like, shit, yeah, I did. Yeah, there's 3 or 4 times. Okay, so there was this day I did this day I did this. And so it's a reminder that you're making progress, a reminder that you're building something, that you're becoming a type of person. And having these weekly check-ins means that you're never going to forget, right? You're never going to forget to work on your goals. You're never going to go 2 weeks without working on your goals or working on your habits or becoming the person you want to be. You're never going to stop caring about your goals. So even if, like I said, you forget for a week, that accountability partner or your accountability partner will remind you at the next check-in and get you back on track. It's very important. I'll drill it into you again to be fucking positive with these check-ins. Don't be negative. Don't be negative. You're allowed to point out things that you could have done better, of course. You're allowed to point out your failures or your shortcomings, of course. Just don't sit there and dwell on them. What I want you guys to do immediately as soon as you point out something negative is go, what am I going to do about it? Like, what's the next step? How do I make sure I don't do this next week? How do I improve this? How do I work on this? Don't just sit there and say, I fucked up. Oh my God, I cheated on my diet. I didn't go to the gym. Shit, man, fuck. No. You're allowed to say, I cheated on my diet. I didn't go to the gym. Okay, what do I do next week? Okay, next week I need to set a calendar reminder every day or set an alarm so that I'll go to the gym. I tell you what, I'm going to get my buddy Matthew to come to the gym with me so that I'll definitely go, so that I won't pussy out. Okay, I'm texting him right now. Okay, he says yes, cool. So like make changes so that next week can be better. Don't sit there and dwell on what you didn't do. Don't focus on the problem. Focus on looking for solutions, because there's solutions to all of this shit. It's up to you and your accountability partner to brainstorm them. That's why you have your partner there, so you have them to help you. And also they're there to stop you beating yourself up. And so if your partner starts beating themselves up, do the same thing. Immediately stop them. Say like, whoa, calm down. You're not, the point of this isn't to beat yourself up, dude. You're being really hard on yourself. Like, how do we change it so next week you can do better? Don't sit there and just be negative. That achieves nothing. Fix it. Look for the solutions, not the problems. So I'll go over a couple of example questions that Imogen and I are currently using. And I want you guys to bear in mind that these questions will change over time. Like the questions that Imogen and I ask each other at this point in time are like radically different from 3 or 6 months ago. So you want to be adjusting your questions depending on what your current goals are, what your current struggles are, personality traits you're trying to work on. Maybe some questions didn't work that well for you in the past, or you figured out like you want to change them and tweak them. This is a constant thing where you're tweaking your questions. Imogen and I add or delete a question probably every like 2 or 3 weeks, honestly. Like it happens all the time. So I'll read out a few of the questions, bearing in mind I'm not going to read out every single question, because at this point, you know, like I said, we like to go for like 3 or 4 hours with our check-in. So there's a lot of questions here, but I'll just read out a few. So the first one that I get Imogen to ask me is, she says, Andy, are you enjoying your gym workouts? Because I struggled early on with letting myself enjoy the gym workouts. I had this whole thing where, you know, the gym is hard. Oh my God, it's difficult. It's struggle. It's painful. I hate leg day, all this kind of stuff. And I was making myself miserable. I was basically choosing to suffer. And so, you know, I spoke to my coach and stuff, and he said like, why don't you just enjoy the gym? Why don't you just learn to love the gym? And then you won't have this like David versus Goliath battle every time you step into the gym. So this question is basically reminding me once a week, you know, hey, remember that the gym is allowed to be fun. Like, are you enjoying the gym? Did you enjoy it this week? If not, so if you did, great. If not, what are you going to change next week? And sometimes the answer is, yeah, I had a couple of workouts where I didn't really enjoy it. So I will then say, okay, next week, I'm going to do some meditating during the gym. I'm going to be nice and calm. I'm going to take a lot of time between sets and, you know, just calm myself down and have a nice time. Maybe I'll listen to some soft music, some nice music, some calming music. I'll come up with strategies so that I can enjoy it for the next week. So on that point, another question that Imogen will ask me is, she'll say, Andy, have you done anything in the last week to make yourself suffer unnecessarily? Because that was something I used to struggle with. I would come up with reasons to suffer. I would make myself feel miserable. Why? Because if I'm suffering, then I get to kind of complain about it. I get to have a drama life. I get to be like, oh my God, look, my life is so hard. Like, please feel sorry for me, right? So that's something I've been working on. Like, have I intentionally made myself suffer when I don't have to? Another question similar to that is, she'll say, Andy, are you letting go of the idea that you need to suffer? Like, are you letting that go and just letting yourself enjoy life? Which is another way of saying, are you being present? Like, are you just living in the now, living in the moment? Next question that I ask her is, Imogen, what do you want to do in the next week? Like, how do you want to spend your time? Like, what are the goals you're going to work on? You know, what are you going to do day to day? And what she likes to do is go through day by day and say, okay, Monday I'm going to do this. And she'll like add it to her calendar. She'll pull her phone out and start adding it to her calendar. And then she asks me the same question. Andy, what are you going to do in the coming week? I don't like to as much add stuff to my calendar day to day. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But I will just generally say, okay, I'm going to record 5 podcasts. I've got like 2 interviews I'm going to do with people. I'm going to do this. I'm going to go to the gym. I'll kind of just do a more vague answer to that question. Next question, and this is one we kind of just ask each other. What is one fun thing, like fun event, that we can schedule in for the next week? And let's add it to our calendar. So she and I have had one of our things that we haven't prioritized is having fun. We've hustled like fucking crazy, building my business up, building my coaching up, and building this website up, this YouTube channel. And so what we have had to do is literally ask ourselves once a week, all right, let's fucking schedule something for next week. We put it in the calendar. We book it in, whatever it is, something cool that we can do together. The other day we did axe throwing, which was fucking amazing. Like, you're throwing axes, you got to stick it in the wood. It was so much fucking fun. Other things that we either want to do or have done is like jet skiing, going to a fucking amusement park, going and getting a massage, going and doing a float tank, anything exciting, right? So we'll specifically schedule it in the calendar. Next question is, she asks me, talk about your body goals, as in the goals I'm trying to work towards with my body, which at the moment is, adding more muscle and getting to abs. How do I achieve that goal in the next week? Like how can I work towards that goal in the next week? So I will go through, how I'm feeling about my body, if I'm happy with the gym progress I'm making, how my calories are going, how my diet's going, if I could have done better, if I think I did a good job, and what I'm going to do in this coming week. Am I going to prioritize like smashing leg day? Am I just going to go hard with all my workouts? Am I going to have a really good check-in with my bodybuilding coach? So I sort of talk through how I'm feeling about that. Similar to that, the next question she asks me is, Andy, give yourself credit for at least 3 positive things you did with your bodybuilding or your diet. This is something I've struggled with in the past. I've been very negative with my body, very negative with bodybuilding. I've had a lot of body issues. And so specifically giving myself credit and talking about the successes, that's been fucking just a game changer for me. That has been so goddamn helpful with changing my mindset, because it was something that I was very hopeless about. I felt very hopeless with my body. I can never get a buff body. I can never add muscle. I'm just always going to be a skinny, fat loser. And so focusing on giving myself credit and being positive has just been a game changer for my mindset. It really, really, really has. Similar to that, I ask Imogen basically the same question. I say, Imogen, give yourself credit for at least 3 positive things you did this week with your fat loss and your binge eating and eating more intuitively. And if you don't know what intuitive eating means instead of forcing yourself to eat, just listen to your body and eat when you're actually hungry. So that's kind of intuitive eating. Next question she asks is, Andy, have you been healthy and had no alcohol this week? So some of you may know that I quit alcohol, at the start of or at the end of last year, because I was kind of an alcoholic. Okay, let's just be honest. I was a fucking alcoholic. And so once a week, it's just a nice reminder. How have you been with your alcohol? Now, I haven't drunk since, that time, but basically I like this question, even though you might think it's redundant, because the answer is always yes. Yes, I didn't drink alcohol. Congrats. It's a nice reminder. Once a week, I like to be able to say, yeah, another week down. Awesome. I'm doing fucking awesome. I'm coming up on a year of sobriety. It's nice to have that kind of positive feedback. So you guys could do a similar question if there's something you're giving up, or if there's something you're working towards, or, if there's just something you're minimizing or a new habit you're trying to build. Once a week, you just get asked that question. Like, how'd you go with this habit you're building? Or how did you go with this habit that you're giving up? Like this addiction you're giving up. Another question that she asks me is, Andy, are your actions working towards your goals, or are you action faking? And when we say action faking, what we mean is doing actions that look like they're making progress, but it's really not. It's you kind of just spinning your wheels. So, in terms of meeting women or something, an example of action faking would be sitting on my website and reading 15 hours worth of articles, but then not going outside and talking to women, right? That would be action faking. You think you're making progress, but really all you're doing is procrastinating because you're scared to go outside, or you're scared to install Tinder, or you're scared to buy a camera and take some new pictures or something. You're scared to go out with your bros and go to a bar and talk to some girls. So I like this question because it makes me think, like, was I actually making progress, or was I just like pretending to make progress? Was I just pretending that I was moving forward, or did I actually move forward? Next question that she asks me is, Andy, have you been assertive and masculine instead of intentionally wanting to feel hopeless? So hopelessness has been something that I've been like a little bit of an addict with in the past. And I know a lot of you guys struggle with hopelessness, that feeling of I'm not going to change. I have too far to go. It's too late for me, or I'm bald. I can't get laid. I'm short. I can't do this. You know, those kind of hopeless feelings. I've been someone that's felt hopelessness a fuck ton. And so asking this question of like, have you actually been assertive and masculine instead of just basically being a little bitch and sitting there going like, oh my God, it's too late. I can't do this. Oh, poor me. You know, I love this fucking question, especially because the way we've written it is very positive. So instead of saying, were you hopeless this week, which is like kind of negative, right? I'm moving towards something which is being masculine, so, or assertive. So I like framing it like that. Like, were you assertive and masculine? Instead of, you know, were you just hopeless this week? I ask her the same question. I ask her, have you been assertive, Imogen? Assertiveness has been something that she's struggled with. A lot of women do struggle with assertiveness. So that's something she's been working on. And then similar to that, we ask a couple more questions that relate to personality traits that she wants to improve upon or she wants to build even further. So the next question is, Imogen, have you been feminine and sweet? Which is something she really likes to be. She's very good at it, but she's always striving to be like a little bit more feminine, a little bit more sweet. And the next question is, Imogen, have you shown Andy that you adore him? That's something that she decided very early on was very important to her as a woman. She wanted to be very affectionate and show me very, very often how much she cares about me. And so, you know, once a week she gets to say, I did a lot to show you that I adore you, that I care about you. And sometimes she'll say like, no, I think I was like too focused on my own stuff that I didn't pull back from that and, you know, tell you that I care about you, tell you that you mean a lot to me. Okay, I care about you. And she'll do something right there and then to show me. So these are the sort of questions I'm talking about where I say you can have questions that help you build towards the kind of person you want to be or personality traits you're working on. These are just like a great once a week reminder of what you're trying to build. Next question is, Imogen will say to me, Andy, is there more you can do to go all in with your goals, whether that's gym or your money goals or your content or whatever else? I fucking love this question because it's basically, you know, sometimes you will be doing a really good job and then this question makes you think like, okay, I'm doing a good job, but like, is there more I could do to go all in? Have I really gone all in? Am I really like obsessed about this goal? Am I holding back a little bit? Is there more I could do? And then I ask her the same question. Is there more you could do, Imogen, to go all in with your goals? Next question is, Imogen asks me, Andy, are you living in the moment and being present and happy now? Or do you feel like you have to suffer or wait before you get to be happy? I fucking love this question. This is like a really fucking good question because, you know, as I said before, I'm someone that's struggled to be in the moment sometimes because I think, oh, I can't be happy until I have this, or I can't be happy till I've gotten laid again, or I can't be happy till I have more money. I can't be happy till I've done blah, 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 blah. So I love this question because it's basically giving me permission to be okay with where I am right now, to be okay with the man I am right now, the person I am right now. And then I flip that and ask Imogen the same exact question. Are you living in the moment right now? Are you enjoying your life? And are you being present? So you'll notice a lot of these questions are copy paste. Like I'll ask her the exact same question that she asks me. And you guys are allowed to do that. Like if you ask a question of your accountability partner and they think like, damn, I like that question. I want to add that to the list and have that as my question. Yeah, go nuts. Not every question has to, like you don't have to ask each other every single same question. Like you can have different questions, but like basically do whatever is most applicable to you or resonates the most with you. And remember that this is a process of experimentation. The first time you guys sit down to write your questions, it's going to be like draft one, right? And you're going to edit these questions like fucking 50 times over the next year. Like that's kind of the point of this. You adjust the questions as you go. They don't have to be perfect. You're welcome to just like steal my questions if you want to, or write your own, do whatever you like. The next question is, I ask Imogen, have you practiced challenging your negative thoughts this week and have you been optimistic? So she's someone that suffered a lot from negative thoughts, negative thinking. She tended to dwell on the negative and not look for the positive. So this is a nice reminder to her of like, you know, did you challenge every negative thought you had? And when we say challenge a negative thought, let's say a thought comes into your head like, you know, I'm fat or man, my body sucks, right? it's nice to, or what you want to do is challenge that and say like, no, my body doesn't suck. Yes, I'm not happy with where I am right now, but I'm working towards something better. I'm going to the gym. I'm doing all the things I want to do. I'm on the right path. That's you challenging a negative thought. So when a negative thought comes into your head, you don't have to just accept it. You don't have to accept it as truth and say, yeah, I am a fat piece of shit. I am ugly. No, 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 no. You're allowed to challenge that and say, no, I'm not fucking fat. Maybe I'm not happy with where I am, but I'm fucking working on it. So Imogen likes to do that, likes to challenge her negative thoughts. I don't get her to ask me this question because I'm pretty fine with my negative thoughts. Like I'm very good at challenging them already. So again, this is an example of where you don't have to copy each other's questions. One person can ask a question and then the next person can ask a completely different question. And by the way, when you ask the questions, you can do it going back and forwards if you want to. Like you ask them one question, then they ask you a question, then you ask them. You can do it like that if you want to, or they can ask you all of your questions at once and then you ask them all at once. I don't really think it matters which one you pick, but I personally like to, and I guess now that I've said that, I would recommend going back and forth, like one question to you, one question to me. Otherwise it feels a little bit like you're just doing it. It doesn't feel like it's a conversation. It feels like you're just talking at them for 30 minutes and then they're talking at you. So I kind of like going back and forwards, one question each, but it's up to you. You guys do whatever works best for you. Next question is, I ask her, Imogen, how many times have you journaled this week? And she actually gets her diary out and has her journal out and she has a look. Okay, I journaled 6 days. Cool. So Imogen likes to journal, write down how she's feeling, what she's working on that day, what she wants to not work on, all that kind of stuff. And a lot of other guys have found that journaling is really helpful. Next question is, Imogen, how many times have you meditated this week? So that's another thing that she likes to do. And she likes that weekly reminder of like, oh yeah, shit, I forgot to meditate. Okay, I'm going to prioritize it this week. Sometimes she'll pull her phone out, put in her calendar on Monday, okay, do 20 minutes of meditating at 6 p.m. So that's what I'm talking about where I say you might get to a check-in and go, oh shit, I didn't do what I was going to do. Okay, how do I adjust it? Like, how do I make sure this coming week I do what I want to do? And then the next question I say to her is, Imogen, how many times have you done your daily affirmations? So an affirmation is where you look in the mirror, or you can just say it out loud to yourself and you say something positive. And you say it like 10 times, 20 times, whatever you want to say. So, some of hers are, I'm building towards an elite body that will make me happy, or I like myself. It can be basically whatever you want, but it has to be something positive, something to give yourself credit for your success or something you're working towards. You're basically trying to make yourself feel good. You're trying to brainwash yourself into feeling positive, especially on a topic where you feel negative. So she's always felt very negative with her body. So looking herself in the eyes in the mirror and saying, I'm happy with where I am and I'm working towards something even better, that's just been fucking life-changing for her. The second last question, I ask her and then she asks me the same question, which is, what were all of your successes this week? Like, what did you do right this week? What did you do well? So we'll just kind of brainstorm and go through. Maybe some weeks it's 10 things we did right. Some weeks it's like a fucking awesome week and it's like 30 things. Some weeks there's only like, 5 things we did, really well. The final question we both ask each other is, do you have a winner's mindset with your goals? Are you playing to win? And what I mean by that is I've done a podcast or a couple of podcasts on having a winner's mindset. What I mean is you keep in mind what you're working towards instead of focusing on what you don't want. So some guys, when they define a goal, let's say, the goal is I want a better body. What they will do is they will obsess about what they don't want. So they'll say, oh man, like I can't afford to be fat anymore. I don't want to look like a loser. I'm sick of women hating me. Like I feel so disgusting. I don't want to be a slob anymore. That's a loser's mindset. You're focusing on the losing. You're focusing on trying not to lose. That's not what we want to do. What you want to do is focus on winning, right? So focus on what you do want. That's everything you don't want. Let's talk about what you do want. So you want an elite body where you look in the mirror and you feel proud of yourself. So say that. Say, I want women to look at me and lust after me, or I want my friends to tell me that I look really good, or I want people at the beach to kind of stare at me and smile, or I want to look in the mirror and feel like I achieved something great, or I want to go to the gym and be able to lift 200 kilos on a deadlift. Like, say what you're working towards, what you're trying to win at, rather than talking about what you're trying not to do, which is what you're trying not to lose at. So focus on having a winner's mindset. Talk about the positive, what you're working towards, rather than what you're running away from. So that's the final question. So you can see all of those questions sort of fit into the general template of what I said before, which is, let me go up and summarize. Did I do what I said I'd do this week? If not, what am I going to change? Like, how do I make next week even better? What were my successes? And what do I want to work on next week? All of those questions fit into that, those 4 categories, basically. And bear in mind, like, with these questions that we're doing, I want to really make it fucking clear. These are the questions that work for us. These are for our goals. You're welcome to steal some of these, but kind of tweak them and adjust them depending on what you're working on, what you care about, the kind of person you want to be, what you want to be called out on by your accountability partner, like what stuff you want them to call you out on and say like, hey, come on, you're being lazy, or hey, you didn't do that properly. Tailor it to you. I'll summarize by saying this is absolutely mandatory. This check-in thing is fucking mandatory for you guys working on your goals, trying to achieve something, trying to improve yourself, trying to build personality traits, trying to achieve a goal, whatever it is. Fucking mandatory. This has been my secret to success. I let other people help me by giving me motivation, giving me that accountability, giving me that feedback, keeping me on track, being that guardrail so that I never go more than a week, not achieving my goals. And what you'll find is once you get good at this, like once you build a habit of doing this accountability every single week, you get to a point where like you never go more than a day without working on your goals or achieving something, because you'll have a lazy day, and then the next day you'll wake up and you'll think about being lazy, but then you'll think, shit, but on Sunday I'm going to meet my accountability partner, and if I have to tell them that I had 2 lazy days in a row, I chose to be lazy twice, fuck, they're going to call me out on that. They're going to be like, bro, what's going on? Like, why'd you do that? So I may as well just fix that right now. Okay, I'm going to do something today. It's like you don't let yourself be lazy for a week anymore. So I really want to drill in how fucking important having a weekly accountability partner is. And again, also do the every 3 month check-in, and then once a year, sit down and check in. As I said, you can do it every day as well if you want to, just like super brief, just text each other, here's what I did today. You're allowed to do that if you want to as well, but definitely the once a week thing, that has to be fucking mandatory. I really wouldn't be where I am today without doing this. So as always, guys, if you want coaching, with me, whether that's one-on-one coaching, group coaching, I'll leave links in the description below. As I said, in my group coaching program, there's a bunch of guys in there who would be happy to be your accountability partner. They're absolutely fucking crushing it. They're absolute workaholics, those guys. If not, I have one-on-one coaching as well. As always, go out there and crush your goals.